Yo, what's good guys, Fire here back with another video, and today we're going to be bringing you guys another pro level offense. Today we're going to be in the gun tight slots halfback weak formation, one of the more unique formations in the game, but yet very effective, and it's one that I have liked to use since Madden 20. We're going to show you guys the best way to do it. I think I've already hopped into a gameplay in this offense, sometime earlier in the year. Now we're going to hop into practice mode, go over some of the setups. You guys kind of like when we do both of those, so that's exactly what we're going to go ahead and do. We are in the Carolina Panthers offensive playbook today. Panthers has a very good combination of good, very good bunch formation, then some of the other good formations like tight wide off, and of course this tight slots halfback weak. But without further ado, let's get straight into the audibles, which I just messed up on, so I'll be right back. But anyways, getting into the audibles here, we got flood, we got inside zone, we got 4 verticals, and mesh spot. Those are going to be the main 4 plays we'll talk about. There are, of course, some other plays, like this X dig play that you cannot see. My face cam's covering it. There's X out, which is basically the same thing. A couple of other decent plays, RPOs, screens, but mainly those 4 plays are what you're going to build your offense around, so that's exactly what we're going to go ahead and talk about. Now, the way that I like to run this formation, you can do it a couple of different ways. We're going to start out by talking about some of the motion stuff, some of the interesting motion stuff. Why is the motion this way? Certain things that you might not know about the formation. The way I like to run it is with my running back on the wide side of the field with my wide receivers to the left. I'll show you some cool stuff with the formation. So take a look. If you want to motion this slot wide receiver Quez Watkins over, you can do that with ease, just like so. So this is something that you can do if the wide receivers are on the left side. We'll go ahead and flip the play and show you what it looks like if we try to motion our slot wide receiver now with our wide receivers on the right side. So now we cannot motion Watkins over. Again, this is something that we cannot do. It doesn't let you motion him across. If we motion Jalen Reagor across, now you see something weird happens where the tight end's going to run to the right, and now Jalen Reagor is going to run to the left. So you try to motion the receiver to the left, now your tight end's going over there. Some people like this. Creates a kind of cool stack formation. I don't know if it's supposed to be like this, but it is kind of cool, I suppose. You can do cool things kind of like this, which, again, it might be nice if you like that. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of having stacks like those, but it's just something interesting. You flip the play, and now all of a sudden the weird stuff happens. But you'll notice if we motion Devontae Smith with our wide receivers on the left, he'll just motion over normally the same exact way that Quez Watkins did. Now, one thing with Quez Watkins that is interesting is you cannot motion to the outside from when he's on the left side. So he's on the left, we can't motion him outside to the left. Now if we flip the play, when we motion Watkins, we can actually motion him to the right. You notice that we can't motion him inside. So if he's on the left side, and this is all dependent on the slot wide receiver. If the slot wide receiver is on the left side, you can motion him inside. If he is on the right side, you can motion him outside. So some interesting stuff. Again, if he's on the right side, you can also get that weird tight end flip stack thing. The outside receiver is generally the same besides Reagor going to the inside. I believe if your play is flipped, which we already showed, he can't go to the inside. Now you see if you wanted to, which we might flip it. I might flip and show setups from both sides. But we can create something like this where you can motion out the slot receiver, put him on a little flat, and that can be a combination that you can certainly go to. So just some interesting stuff. I know a lot of you probably didn't know about that, but there are certain reasons that setups can be on one side rather than the other. Now, going into that setup, I kind of already showed what one of them looked like, and it was to flat one of your receivers and go with a combination kind of like this. Now, I will agree that this setup's going to be a little bit better from the other side of the football field, which that it will be the case. It's going to be better with your wide receivers on the right side, I would have to say that, but again, just depends on what side you are on, which play you might want to go to. But yeah, this is your first setup to go with something kind of like this. You see immediately you can kind of check it down to Goddard here in the flats. You have 2 flats with your outside receiver and then your tight end on the other side. And then you also have Miles Sanders' route that is very good against cover 3, which we are in cover 3 now, and you see he can really get open now because of the cover 3 buzz we are in. The free safety is actually in a hook curl, which kind of makes this a little bit worse because generally when they're linebackers, they will move over to the right and kind of open this up more. But it just depends on the formation, I suppose. But yeah, this is a very similar setup to mesh post, as I literally can't snap the ball, so I'm gonna have to, I guess, go back out. Gotta love practice mode this year. Alright, I also went ahead and switched up formation just so you can maybe see that a little bit better. The wheel route, I want to focus in on Miles Sanders' route. Again, you snap the ball, and this is what it generally can look like against cover 3. I don't know why that guy's playing him. Usually they don't. You saw that when we ran it to the right. That is weird. Maybe it was some kind of patch I didn't know about, but usually the running back routes are a lot more open than that. I'm not sure exactly why that's happening. Devontae Smith, maybe it's because he's not on the outside completely, but that is going to be your first setup. Of course, you have Jalen Reagor on the post route. Don't forget about that. But the next setup that we're going to go to is going to be one where we flat X. We're going to motion our slot wide receiver over, and we're going to put him on a curl. We're just going to run it like this. Smart route B, curl Y, flat A. Just kind of run it like this. This is a pretty dang good setup. Really, your guy you're trying to hit is Watkins. Majority of the time, he's going to be the one that's open. I think we can all agree on that. He's usually just kind of sitting there wide open, which is, of course, what you want. So, again, you can flat B, or wrong setup, but flat A, flat X, smart route B, and we're frozen again. Screw practice mode, bro. Going back to my point, though, smart route B, flat A, flat X, put Y on a curl, and motion him over. So, this is your setup. You can also run this motion snap if you prefer to do that. But, yeah, he just gets there wide open. Again, it depends on the coverage, but if they don't have a hooker on the left, Miles Sanders will be open every single time on that, and it'll usually be either between the post and the wheel route. Usually the curl can be open all the time. If it's man coverage, you can also throw that curl on a low ball and aggressive catch it to get a better animation. But yeah, if you wanted to create something unique, you could also maybe kind of create a weird little bunch tight end type look with the running back on the outside, opposite side, like a bunch tight end weak. And, you know, who knows what setup you run. Maybe something like this. I don't know. You could create some cool stuff like this with this little weird bunch tight end weak type formation. But, yeah, man, you can definitely do some cool things with the motion. Let me know if you guys want to see another gameplay with this. We'd definitely be running some cool stuff like this. But let's go ahead, hop into our next play, the inside zone. Now, for our inside zone, I went ahead and flipped the play. That was so we can get this faster handoff animation that you see right here. And this is certainly going to be helpful. It's going to be a lot better if you run the ball from the right side to the left side. So that is certainly something that you probably want to attack. Again, you can create this cool little tight end stack. I don't know if this helps the run game, but it certainly did kind of shadow some players over. So maybe it does, you know, you never know. But yeah, usually you probably want to, you know, snap the ball fast if you're running the ball. Try to get people out of position, quick snap, go into the outside here, picking up your blocks. But yeah, man, this is usually more of a passing formation. You'll see some guys who like to run the ball, run this formation, can be balanced. It's a pretty easy formation to kind of pass the ball out of, but yeah, it's definitely more of a passing formation, I would say. You probably, if you're running this, want to throw the ball a little bit more. But yeah, it's pretty decent. It can be decent at times for sure. But yeah, you want to run this, you know, 5 times a game, 5-10 times a game. Don't run it much more than that. Again, doing this kind of creates this a little bit of a weird adjustment, and I think that can happen depending on a couple of different things in the actual game. It just depends on if your opponent's like not base aligned, whatever. But yeah, man, you see overall just very decent runs. And let's go ahead, hop into our next play, which is going to be the 4 verticals. Now, 4 verticals, it used to be a lot better, especially with this route being a heavy man coverage beater. Quez Watkins, you could usually motion him out, but for whatever reason, he doesn't run his wheel when you actually motion him out, which is actually annoying as crap. So the only way to get him to run his wheel route is just to have him sit there, so he can't get motioned out. You can motion out Reagor, you can motion Reagor to kind of the opposite side, but generally it's going to be a little bit better. And I actually like this setup like this, where you kind of have Reagor on this little fade route. You could maybe streak X and kind of create an opening there, I would assume. He also is kind of like a weird choice route, so maybe if it's man coverage, he runs kind of a corner route. And then with Goddard, maybe we like slant him or drag him. And then with Sanders, we could put him on a little out route, but you could do some cool things with this. And depending on the coverage, you might be able to be like cover 2 outside for a touchdown. We'll just chuck it up to Devontae Smith here. But again, using the motion, you can turn in some weird routes into actual useful routes, like post in the corners, and, you know, seam routes into fades. But going into some other setups out of this play, I went ahead, switched over to a cover 2, and I also flipped the play just so you could see some more stuff with it. But this wheel route's very, very solid. Some of the good combos, you can also kind of flat this wide receiver. We can throw Sanders on a little route like this, but that can definitely help pull things over and also open up. can be a decent concept in the red zone. Again, we can also maybe put Sanders on like a little outside route like this, and he will definitely get open. Really, the wheel routes, they can get open. They're a little bit worse than they were, so this play is not as good, but you can kind of use these wheel routes as a distraction to open up things like this. You have a little curl flat on the left, and then maybe over here you go with a little hitch combo. So just different stuff like this can definitely be solid, and you see how maybe you can fit him open a little bit deeper on his wheel route. We'll see if we can actually get that right here. Roll out a little bit, and there you see maybe you can fit it in like right there. I'm not sure why the cloud flats are playing so deep. Usually in cover twos they won't play that deep. So again, I'm not sure exactly that, but you go with like a little curl flat on the right, and then maybe just the setup on the left where you streak X, or maybe flat X and you streak RB. You can do different things like this that of course can work, and now you see why it gets a little bit more open. So that would probably be, I guess, the better way to get him open. But without further ado, let's hop into our last play, which is going to be flood. And with flood, it's going to be probably the best play. You have a super deep post route with Devontae Smith. I can get over the top of some deep coverage like cover 4. But yeah, the first setup is going to be create a little curl flat on the right, which is something we've done a lot. You can also smart out Y if you want to, depending on the down and distance. You can get a little bit shorter. First read, of course, the running back in the flat. We've already thrown to him a lot. And I do urge you to check out that gameplay. I definitely go over some cool stuff in that gameplay. So I do recommend you guys watch that video. But yeah, a little curl flat over here. You snap the ball. We're going to roll out and throw this pass to Watkins on the corner out. You see he gets really deep. So he's a lot of times going to get over the top of those zones kind of the same way that Vertical's route does in Gun Bunch. There might be a little bit of a way to actually open up Devontae Smith on this. Maybe he is on the wrong side, but you could potentially open him up. I think if you're maybe on the other side, there's a way to get him open on his deeper post. I'm actually going to try it out, flipping the play, because I do want to see if that actually works. So we're going to flip it, and then we're going to call flood. See if maybe Rager can get open. You might need like a different route for this to work, because I don't know if these little out routes do the best job at actually pulling over deep half zones. And yeah, he's not really doing much. So maybe you need like a corner route, something different to kind of pull that over. But I do think that concept could work to beat cover 2 deep. Of course, deep posts generally good at it by themselves. Maybe just like a motioned over streak could do the job. But yeah, you can do definitely some cool things when you have these different types of routes. And maybe from the other side, from the wide side to the short side, it's not very good, but this is probably the better way to open up the corner route. So we can put B also on this deeper in route, and either block our tight end or block our running back. Usually I'll just block the tight end, just get the simpler look. This is another formation that kind of got hurt by delay fades being patched. I would say that pretty significantly, but definitely can still be solid. Yeah, man. As far as some other things you could do, maybe you want to use this flat route as a little corner route, or this flat as like a little curl flat concept, and you want to slam Y, put A on a little out route, and then put B like on a deeper in route, or just streak him, do some like a basic concept like this, or maybe just block your tight end, just a little basic curl flat concept. These can definitely sometimes work. This might be another one that's better with like the little motioned out wide receiver. But just these cool little basic concepts. It's not really too big of a deep passing offense. It's a lot of short passes, a lot of dinking and dunking. But yeah, check out that gameplay if you want to see more from this offense. That's pretty much going to do for the video. If you guys enjoyed, drop a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, and peace. I'm out of here.